dressed to the nines today, has spent more than a decade in the world of high fashion, both in front of and behind the camera. You know him from America's Next Top Model, of course, Style Her Famous. He's been seen on a slew of high caliber red carpets, even alongside me, yours truly. He currently hosts the brand new Yahoo fashion and beauty lifestyle program, The Thread, but who knew? He started his career as a makeup artist. There's gonna be a lot of surprises that you're gonna learn about Jay today. Jay also has a contemporary women's clothing line called Attitude in Sears, Canada. Woo, there's so much to get to, but I'm gonna let him help me talk. Please welcome my friend, the very inspiring, the very fashionable, the very debonair. I like to butter you up before I talk to you. Jay Manuel, come on out. Yay! Pick a seat. There's two. Pick a mic. I mean,
I'll sit at mic number 2.
There's so much Jay. We got you like 2 of everything.
Is this on? No, it's not really on. Can you hear me?
It should be on. Some are hotter than others.
There we go.
Some are hotter than others.
I'm gonna have to hold it up a little higher. Okay, even though 3 is my lucky number, not 2,
No.
and that's my better side, and this is my bad side.
Wait, we have the same. I notice that every time Jay and I get a picture.
When we do a photo, I force her on this side.
Yes, I'm like, this is my good side too. Let's do the whole panel
So
like this. So anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We'll look this way, and you guys just look this way. Actually, somebody just called me out on Instagram.
What?
While I was sitting in the green room, and I took a picture, and they said, "You always take the same camera angle." Ooh. But hey, if you know what works, I just don't shoot this side. Ooh, you got to move that way. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
We need you over here by the door,
No.
please.
No. I'm not going to be. I've already directed him too much on the other side. Okay.
We want to dip into your world so much and get so much advice from you. I know everyone in this room can learn from you on so many different levels. I have to point out that I feel like every time I ever see you, and you guys know this because you see him on television, but you always manage to come out looking flawless every single time.
Oh my
Does he
goodness.
not? You were just saying that.
Thank you. Oh, I've seen some. I look back and I'll be pretty honest. I've worn some crazy things.
Well,
and then the spiky hair, which I'm over.
But that was a trendy thing. But you're always so put together. Is your closet like ridiculously immaculate OCD? Tell the truth. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Well, I have to organize. Yeah, well, I built a dressing room. I'm in fashion. And by the way, the reason I'm really a suit and tie person, not like that crazy person wearing costumes sometimes, because my grandfather was a tailor. Oh. So I used to get a perfectly made-to-measure suit every year on my birthday from my grandfather. And I've kept them all, these little suits, like little Jay. Yeah, they're so cute. And they're in my closet.
Little Jay, and they're in your closet?
They're in my closet.
Hanging or like framed? Or
no, they're hanging, but I had to keep them. My grandfather's no longer alive, but I love these suits.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
and I'll never lend them to my nephews because they'll tear them apart.
No, save them, save them. Vintage all the way. Your story is so amazing. I want to literally go back to the beginning.
By the way, we can talk forever.
I know.
So we're going to have to just keep this short.
You guys thought that last panel was long. This is, no, I love you too. This is a love fest because one of the things I love about Jay so much, which you will learn in moments if you don't already know, is that you're such a positive person and you're such a kind human being and you're very enthusiastic about what you do. But it's all, because we talked about this a lot today. A lot of the fashion industry can be a little But Jay is the
very negative.
Jay is the but your road to here is so fascinating that I don't even know that it's out there for public knowledge entirely. Mm-hmm. But let's start with, because we can't start at 2. So let's start with singing. Did you all know that Jay is a incredibly accomplished, talented opera singer?
That's actually what I moved to New York for. A lot of people don't know that. I was, part of opera and concert in the Mendelssohn Choir and performing all over the world as a soloist. And really, I remember thinking when I was applying to school, I thought, my first voice teacher, who started training me when I was 14 years old, brought me to New York at 16, and I got to sing for one of the coaches at the Metropolitan Opera. And that first, weekend in New York, I just remember thinking, this is really where I belong. And so I changed the schools I was applying to. I changed everything. I wanted to apply for NYU, which I was late for, but my parents still let me come to New York that fall. And I started school actually in, I guess, the second semester. Mm-hmm. That's what I came to New York York for originally.
So you were in New York, you were
Yes.
singing, that was your path, but share
How did we get into
Yeah. What was explain the whole, like, one day you're set on this path to be singing for life, and then makeup came into your world.
You know, it's a really weird story, and I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version. First of all, when we're growing up, and especially when you're in school, you don't hear people say, go into fashion, become a designer, become a makeup artist or an art director, because we don't think there's a huge career there. And one of the things that I often tell young kids, like yourselves, or when I go, speak at different schools, it's that if you're truly, truly passionate about something, and by the way, you don't have to be a designer or a makeup artist. You could just love fashion and want to go into fashion journalism, whatever. There's so many avenues within this business. And I think it's very important for people to follow their heart, because it is going to chase you down. And like with my example, if we had to go back into little Jay's room again at around 12, 13, you'd think of, often you'd have like your favorite musicians' posters on the wall. I had fashion ads. Did I ever tell you this?
No.
Fashion ads all over the walls. I remember I had these Saks Fifth Avenue ads. I didn't even know what Saks was. I thought it was a misprint because I didn't know what Saks meant. But I was so inspired by fashion imagery, and that was really kind of my passion. And by the time I was 17, one of my hobbies was photography. I entered the Kodak competition, National Kodak competition, and I actually won the competition. So I felt it was definitely a strong passion, but I kept pushing it to the side, saying, no, this is gonna be a hobby, this is gonna be a hobby. So now, I'm in New York, I'm going to school, and my first voice teacher, she actually got cast. You probably may or may not have seen this film. Martin Scorsese did a film called The Age of Innocence with Michelle Pfeiffer and Daniel Day-Lewis. Anyway, my first voice teacher, she's the person you actually see who opens the film. And when the studio needed to shoot imagery of her for the film in character, she said, oh, you should go, you should kind of create this look, da-da-da-da-da. I said, okay, sure. I was so naive. So I showed up. It was a huge photographer. At the end of the shoot, he said to me, you're really kind of talented at this. Would you ever consider doing this? And I was like, oh, no. I'm a singer. I go to NYU. This is not what I'm doing. So he gave me his number and said, if you're ever interested, give me a call. So of course, when you're in school, everyone needs a little extra pocket cash, right? So I called him up a couple months later, and I was really naive. I said, I don't know if you remember me, but this is my class schedule. These are the only days I could work. And I think he just kind of chuckled at me because he just loved how naive I was. But he called me, and I ended up doing this shoot for him. And then at the end of that shoot, he said, oh, I'm going to be doing a cover for the Metropolitan Opera with Luciano Pavarotti, which was one of my idols. And you have to put him into character. So I said, oh, yeah, I could do that. I didn't even know what I was really doing. The Met sent over this lace front wig that cost $10,000. I'm not even a hairdresser still to this day. I didn't know what to do with it. I actually sought out a wig maker. They explained to me about blocking the wig, setting the wig, what to do. But I just really wanted to show up at this shoot and show that I knew what I was doing. At the end of the day, that cover shoot was a huge success. And long story short, an agent saw some of my work that I was doing with Christian Steiner, and I was very young. I was in my early 20s. I just started working with a lot of people very, very quickly. It was very word of mouth, especially in this business, and started working with a lot of celebrities. And really, it was both Iman and David Bowie, who are still married today, who said, most of your clients look at you for much more than just your makeup work. I did a lot of digital post-production. But they look at you to really creative direct and come up with concepts. And you're really doing this work, so you should be paid as such. And they really kind of championed me into kind of going into that world. And kind of like the rest was history from there. Well before I was on TV, I did campaigns and worked in this business for just over 10 years and flew all over the world and worked with some truly genius creative visionaries, from Avedon to Scavullo, from John Galliano on down. Working with these people, it just taught me so much about the business and about their passion. And I just always like to tell people, if you're truly, truly passionate about this business, that's what's going to rise to the top, and that's what's going to follow you.
Let me get my my mic back for this. You mentioned, first of all, and that makes total sense. You have such an eye. It's such a gift. I mean, that's some people you can't teach that. I mean, that was obviously a talent that was innate within you. But you said something I thought was really important. You said, when you were asked to do something, at least for that moment, you faked it. You said, "Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh sure, I can do that." I
say to everybody in this business, especially, you have to fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And here's the perfect example. And I told Catt this story before. I remember when I was working with a lot of celebrities and flying all over the world, but I really, really wanted to do cosmetic beauty advertising. And that's, you have to get in with the ad agencies, and they're so picky who works on their advertising. And sure, when would go in with some of my celebrity clients, they'd insist I would work on their ads. But I really wanted to work for Chanel, Maybelline, Revlon, and do some of these ads. So I remember I told my agent at the time, let's just send my portfolio up to the, Saatchi & Saatchi and all the big ad agencies. And they said, well, his work is really great, but he's never done a cosmetic ad. So I remember saying to my agent, I was like, well, wait a minute. I haven't done a cosmetic ad. Even though they like my work, why can't they book me? It was just this whole catch-22. It was really annoying me. So at the time, I had just worked with Bridget Moynihan, who's now an actress, but at the time, she was also a model. And I said to her, hey, would you like to do a test shoot? And she was a very successful model. She didn't have to do this. But I had kind of hooked her. I said we were going to do the shoot with this very big beauty photographer. And I basically shot these fake cosmetic ads. And I mean, we shot them, we shot product, we laid it out. And I put these series of fake cosmetic ads, which were really quite beautiful, I thought. I mean, just the photography and everything was great. And we put them in the front of my book. And one of the advertising agencies who were handling Revlon at the time saw this work and said, you know what, let's book him for the next Revlon ad. And that's how I actually started doing, cosmetic beauty work. But it wasn't like I was lying. These ads were clearly not real ads. They just looked professional and they were complete. But I just felt like I had to prove to them that I could do what I thought I could actually deliver for them.
So step one was, they asked, but you answered the call, even though you're faking it and saying, oh, yeah, I'll do it. Don't be afraid to go, okay, then come up with the plan, then create, then innovate, then master what it is you want to do to get there however you got to do it. Because nobody's going to do it for you.
And I know designers, I've met models who do the same thing, and I tell my girls this all the time. When someone says to you, oh, have you ever done this, like roller skated backwards while, I don't know, with a parasol, holding a little baby tiger? Sure, yeah, I could do that. But you know what? That's what they want to hear. They want to hear enthusiasm. At the end of the day, it's like standing on the end of that diving board, and if you want that thing in front of you, just dive off and do it. And the one thing that I always love to let everybody know, whether you want to be a designer, hairdresser, creative director, set designer, what have you, at the end of the day, you have to remember who you're truly servicing. And I think, in today's world of fashion, we look at what the fashion magazines are doing, especially, that business has become very, very difficult. Their role initially was to bridge the gap between this fashion industry and the consumer. But now they're competing against themselves. So they're trying to outdo each other with fashion editorials and being creative. And it's almost like they've forgotten the consumer. So the one thing I tell, young designers, anyone trying to enter this business, remember at the end of the day, it's a business. You want to make money from it. Everyone wants to make money, number one. And number two, you have to bridge that gap to the average consumer. Those two things you want to keep in your mind at all times.
You are clearly very successful at so many various things that you do, because we haven't even gotten to your TV work yet. I mean, you've done so very much, but you have experienced suffering, and like any genius or some of the I think the most successful people have the most interesting stories because they've known adversity. Will you share with everybody a little bit about your illness, by definition, in your early 20s?
Yes, I think And it's very interesting because when I have spoken about this, sometimes people look back in their lives and say, oh, I wish that didn't happen. I wish this didn't happen. And this was actually a pretty difficult time for me. And, as a knee-jerk reaction, you'd almost feel like you'd want to say, oh, I wish I could have just bypassed this moment in my life. But I actually look at this moment as a true gift. One morning, I literally went to bed the night before. I did a spinning class, what have you, and I thought, oh, my back's kind of sore. I just thought, I was kind of stiff, didn't even think anything of it. Woke up the next morning, I could feel my legs. I had feeling in them, but I could not move. I could not move my legs even just half an inch. We didn't know what was wrong. Initially, I was rushed to the hospital. I was in excruciating pain. They had to put me on like this morphine drip. Long story short, what they found out was I had sacroiliitis, which is actually a spontaneous swelling of your sacral iliac joint, which is the joint where your hip joins your spine in the back. It's actually something very, very rare. It usually afflicts, it's pretty much only men, and they tend to be physically active. But really, I had a genetic pattern that was going to predispose me to essentially having this condition, because the way your body heals from it is it grafts across this joint, because men don't use this joint. Women use it in childbirth. That's actually how your hips expand, but men don't use it. So they think they're witnessing an evolutionary change in men, because about 50% of male babies born today don't have that joint. It's fused across. Basically, I'm a very independent person, if you don't know that already. But I was forced in a position where I had to rely on everyone. I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair. I had to be bathed. I had to do everything. I hated this moment, this time in my life at first, because I had to basically relearn how to walk. It took me about 7 months, and I was in a wheelchair, and I had to sleep upright, just like this, for 3 months. And you can only read so much, watch so many movies before you just kind of like sit and kind of think about life and what have you. And I went inward in a way I don't think I would have ever done if I was just healthy, because it just really forced me to this place of making decisions for myself that were key and important. And obviously I'd moved to New York as a singer, and I was very successful, but I was really trying to look at my life and figuring out, what did I really want to do? And this nagging thing came forward, and that was this passion I had for fashion and creating imagery. And I had to make a decision. And literally, kind of healing out of that process, I stopped pushing away the work and the different opportunities that were being brought my way in terms of the world of fashion, and I chose to embrace them. And that was the learning lesson for me.
Don't you love that story? I love that. We've had some experts on the panel today, and the discussion came up about how, these days everybody's an expert. You like have one little blog and suddenly everybody's an expert. And that does make it hard for the real experts in the industry, because not everybody that's doing the hiring always knows the difference. But Jay, of course, you have contributed to so many different outlets, whether it be magazines, television, and whatnot. So in your television world, being an expert, what has that experience been like as far as your career, before we get to what you're doing today, as far as how that's molded you as you've come up?
I really attribute just kind of being able to, do various different television projects, to live events, or even co-hosting things with you, Catt. As it's just been a very natural evolution of what I do already. Sometimes people would say on Top Model, oh my gosh, how did you memorize all those different things, and what were you doing? And there was no script, there were no cue cards. I was just doing me. I was actually producing all the creative and hiring all the talent on the show. So when I was addressing the girls and speaking to them, I was just doing what I would do naturally, working in that environment. But when it came to kind of live events or doing red carpets, etc., I feel like, I was schooled in kind of the best way, working with so many amazing celebrity clients and seeing them work on junkets. And I worked on many movie junkets too, which, by the way, a movie junket is pretty boring. You're at a hotel, all day long, and, your client is sitting there doing the same interview over and over and over again. But seeing their professionalism in those scenarios taught me a lot about what was expected of me, being talent in front of the camera. And as a performer, from a very young age, it just felt very natural to kind of step up on the stage. So it wasn't something I prepared for. But I think, again, the learning lesson here is, you know when something feels right for you and where you feel comfortable. And, when you were talking about experts a second ago, sometimes people talk about, nowadays, we've had these fashion magazines and now we've got bloggers. And what makes a successful blogger? I think a successful blogger is somebody who is extremely passionate about what they do. They give it their all. And I say, why not let that, blogger just starting their blog blossom? Because when we look at people like Deanna Vreeland, who was, I think one of the ultimate editor-in-chiefs of Vogue, when she first got into the business, it was actually as an assistant for a fashion editor at Harper's Bazaar, and she had no schooling, she knew nothing about fashion, but that woman had an eye, and she became the editor-in-chief of Vogue for many, many, many years. So again, I think
there's room for everybody.
There's room for everybody, and I think you just need to follow that passion.
Do you have a work philosophy in which you kind of live by? Because everything you touch seems to be working out pretty well.
I guess there are two things. One, which can be a good and a bad thing. Sometimes I like to think I can be a perfectionist, which I only recently discovered. For myself. No.
We knew that about you a long time ago.
No, but I recently discovered this could be a bad thing, because when you try to be a perfectionist, I realize what I'm doing, this gets really, really deep. Okay, I feel like it's like Super Soul Sunday, but we're not on OWN.
Good. But, I wanted to be Oprah today.
But
see?
we are going to be a little Oprah. It's almost this thing of, by trying to be perfect in not just what I'm presenting, but everything, right down to editing the project that I'm working on and overseeing every last detail. It's because what I'm trying to do is create this armor that's impenetrable so nobody can poke a hole through it. Because then they'll just look at it and say, oh, that's perfect. Oh, I don't have to touch it. And then I become free of judgment. And that's the thing that I just recently realized. I've been doing this thing to become free of judgment, which I don't care who you are in this world, from the biggest celebrity to the most wealthy computer tycoon to whoever, everyone on some level struggles with, am I good enough? Am I this enough? Am I that enough? Somewhere. It might not be a huge debilitating thing, but we all have that inside. So what I realized is I was just gonna set up all these walls and I'm gonna make it perfect so that nobody can then tear me down.
That's exhausting.
It is.
Hasn't that been exhausting?
It is, but in realizing that, I've just realized I don't have to be so perfect.
That's fantastic. When did you have this breakthrough?
I had this breakthrough actually not that long ago. I would say probably about 8 months ago. I remember sitting there thinking, oh, I'm trying to make this perfect so that no one can tear it down. Which, when I realized that it allowed for more freedom to try things that would be probably even more outside of the box than I would normally think. And I wouldn't try and set up all the scaffolding around this thing to just to sometimes just try something and just let it live. And in that, you find a whole different kind of realm of creativity. And it's allowed me to do things that are really, really different and it really inspiring me. Because when you try and set up something you can do, that's actually not interesting to yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So that brings me to, that's a good thing, because you're obviously learning a lot about yourself. And as I pointed out, like everything you do, you're so good at. So you're okay with failing, is what you're telling us now. Like if you have to, everybody can see it, and you're.
I didn't say I was good with failing. I just said I was good with letting people take.
But you said you'd let it live. What if it lives and maybe it doesn't live very long because it? Maybe...
Well, not everything you can do, and this goes for any major success story out there. You'll do things, you'll put things out there, and it just won't take. That's no reflection on who you are. And I tell that especially to young designers, young models. When you're creating a brand that really big, especially to a model, you become your brand. So it's very, very difficult to separate yourself from your brand. And I think because people think they identify with their brand, but you got to remember, it's like, and it's always going to happen. People are going to love you, and they're At some point, they will try and tear you down and push you down. But if you have yourself separate from your brand, then they'll never tear you down inside. So it's really, I think when people get caught up in their name, like especially as a model, because their face becomes their brand. Like I'm very, very good friends with Coco Rocha and her and her husband. And what I love about Coco is that she's so level-headed. And so when people are like, oh, Coco, 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 she doesn't let that hype kind of take off and she gets this overinflated sense of self. The same way when they don't like her and say, well, she's really kind of that quirky, ugly girl and blah, 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 that doesn't tear her down. And especially with young designers and other people, as we all are in the creative realm, we hold on to anything we create and we take it so personally. So when someone tears that down, it tears us down. So you have to keep yourself separate.
Yeah, and a lot of our audience today, you know, you're on social media or you're blogging and you've got all this, and that is great advice because it's such a two-way street now. I mean, the beauty of it is you do get feedback and it's so personal and you can take it and run with it. At the same time, it can be hurtful, so you have to not let that define you.
Now, do you ignore anything that's negative? Because I usually...
What negative?
No, because someone will write something like they don't like your outfit for the day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, this past year at the Grammys...
You hated my outfit? Oh, no.
No, but I'll tell you though, people got real. Okay, it's the Grammys. Now I could just wear a black suit and look like Ryan Seacrest, and then I would be boring. But they would always expect me to be. They always expect me to be wearing something different, right? Okay. So I was wearing Alexander McQueen. It was collection runway. It was like this. It basically looked like feathers. It wasn't like actual feathers. It was like all embroidered, but it was a suit. But it was all like this really cool feather right off the runway. Really, really cool. They didn't produce it, and they made it for me. It was like amazing. Like Jennifer Lopez. I'm interviewing. She's like, I'm living for this. Like everyone loved the look. Then I look on a commercial break at social media. This one girl says, she's like, because it looks like feathers and splotches. She's like, hey, Jay, look out. There's another seagull about to take a shit on your thing. You know what I mean? Because she says it looked like I had poop all over me. I was just, but why would you write that? So I actually retweeted her with a comment and said, well, aren't you so charming? Because when you looked at her profile was all in God we love, and it's always the super, super, super faithful, but she is, I'm sure her God loved all that negativity she was feeling. So I just don't really put up with that kind of crap. But I also know that I am not what I wear, so if I am wearing something a little crazy, it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, because you weren't safe. I mean, what's fun about being safe? I
love a black suit, but I can wear a black suit any other day.
Any day of the week.
Yeah.
That's funny. And the interesting thing, have you ever noticed on Instagram, all the people that I hate, they're private. Because if you go click on their thing, because I'm like, well, because I want to see it. Or what? Or they like go down to the Catholic Church. Like, who are these people spinning the hate? They're always private. They're protected.
Yeah, they're private.
It's dangerous out
and
there.
It's not always religious people, but it's
I know.
just.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah, thank you. No. The other day I got a tweet, Addy News. Catt Sadler is so annoying I had to turn the channel. And I get that stuff every day.
I don't think you're annoying. I think you're charming.
I know that our friends here have questions for you before we keep talking. Who said that? You're amazeballs. She's talking to you. She's talking to you.
Oh.
Do you guys have any questions for Jay that I am not getting to? Because I know we're past our time, aren't we? We're like off the charts long for the day. Don't be shy.
It can be random. It can be anything.
There we go. In the back. Stand up. Talk to us.
What has driven me? To be really to be truly honest, and we're going right back to Super Soul Sunday. For me, it's like even when things are amazing and you have all these amazing things going on, what truly drives me to do the next thing. Like, I love a project. I love creating things, and it doesn't even have to be something that's going to be publicly viewed. Just even if it's creation for the sense of creation, even if it's just for me or my family, it's that things always change. So even if things are amazing in life, I always just say enjoy it. Enjoy this moment. Like right now, I'm not thinking about an hour from now. I'm not thinking about the dinner that I'm having later with a business client. I'm actually thinking about I'm sitting here in this room with you guys, because this is really the only moment that it really exists. So for me, I look at the great moments live, and they live in the now, and those will change. The same way when people come up to me and say, I've been really trying really, really hard, and things are awful right now, and I'm like one step from being on the streets. I just met this young stylist who said that, and I said, but you know what? That moment isn't gonna last forever, because nothing lasts. The good times don't last, and the bad times don't last. So if you feel like it's really, really, really awful, that's gonna change too, and things are gonna get better. And the best thing that ever happened to me that I just found out, I was at the Gaultier, by the way, if everyone's into fashion, you have to see the Jean-Paul Gaultier exhibit that just opened to the public Friday in the Brooklyn. Has anyone gone yet? Because it just opened Friday. Oh, did you go? It was amazing, right? It's breathtaking. It's an orgasm. But no, truly, even if you're not into fashion, you will have an orgasm by the time you get to the fifth row.
I thought you were going to say even if you're not into orgasm.
Even if you don't normally have an orgasm, you will learn about what an orgasm is. But yeah, I was just at they did a kind of a VIP opening on Wednesday, and like a dinner, and Gaultier was there and everything, and I've been a huge supporter of his for years, and he's made some cool things for me. He, at this event, this young student came up to me and she said, when you were speaking, I was on my college tour, she said, I don't know if you remember, I asked you a question, and I said that I really wanted to intern, at a fashion house, and you told me just to go to New York, literally go and interview at the different houses. Anyway, she now is not even an intern anymore. She has a pretty decent position at Haute Hippie here in New York City. She lives in New York. She has her own apartment. And this was 2 years ago. And she said, I left because you told me I could. And that's why I always tell people, it's like, when you think, oh, I can't do something, why not? Why not? Like, I mean, I was really ballsy. I mean, going to these major ad agencies and just saying, here, look at my work. I just created these things. And I always tell people, just do. People will respond to your passion for what you're doing, even more so than the end product. Because that's what I look for when I hire people. I look for, can I see this person going beyond the distance? I hate when someone comes to me and says, oh, I'm looking for, I want to intern, but I can only work like 9 to 4 or da 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 da. Well, let me tell you, in this business, and a lot of what I did, even on America's Next Top Model, season 1, people don't realize. I mean, I was working with ad integration and working with sponsor integration with the show and doing all these different things, but we had no budget season 1. So I was doing everything and a bag of chips, even to the point that Tyra was like, I know you used to be my makeup artist years ago. Can you do my makeup when we're on the judging sets, because we can't afford a makeup artist? Like, I was literally doing everything. You have to have that kind of stick-to-itiveness and that sense of wanting to go the distance, and that's what people will recognize. Yes. I always believe that the real answer will come to you when you're looking at the options in front of you. For instance, if you are not in the situation where you could afford schooling, however, there are some networking opportunities, or someone is offering you an internship at, I don't know, Calvin Klein, Donna Karan, blah, blah, and there's this glaring obvious beacon in front of you, like, go here, don't go to school, then I would say to you, hey, if you get to intern at Donna Karan and you're going to be working with, one of the chief designers, I would say go that route. However, if you feel that you want to learn a little bit more about fashion business, you have an opportunity, or you can't afford the schooling and what have you, and want to take that time to learn a bit more, then I would say go that route. I personally believe that will come to you, but just looking at the avenues placed in front of you. But everyone's path is totally different. Because I went to NYU, everything that I studied in my degree has nothing to do with what I do today at all.
Listen to those whispers, though. That's good advice. The answers are right there in front of you.
And I had those whispers while I was in a wheelchair, so I think that's why I heard them.
Yeah, you had to be.
Yeah.
You had to be still.
Still. Yes. How do you stand out as a model? Here is the best. This is what I tell most young girls, because I do castings many times for various projects, etc. A lot of girls trying to get off the elevator and they skulk in and what have you. And you never know who's actually casting, who's part of that decision-making process. The audition starts when you're walking in that building, because you don't know who's walking out of that building. When you get off that elevator, yes, your portfolio is important. But more importantly, it's how you carry yourself and how you carry yourself within that building. Because think about it, a true top model knows how to command the presence of a room, of a red carpet, of any moment. They should be able to walk in the room and command the presence. And that does not necessarily mean they're the prettiest girl, because some of the top supermodels are not what we would call traditionally beautiful. It's something that comes from within. So that poise and confidence is what I look for. And by the way, I just recently cast for a big show in Milan, and there was this girl. She was 15 years old, and she was there with her chaperone mom from Brazil. And this girl walked in and just owned the room like she should have been one of the original supermodels.
Really?
Well, I booked her to open the show. She was just amazing. And that was before I knew I loved her, before I even saw her book. So at the end of the day, when you put your book down, and quality is way better than quantity, I'd rather see 2 photos that are amazing than 10 that show, you know, that are mediocre.
Command the presence. I got to steal that. That was good.
You command presence.
No, I got to
You don't
still
have to worry
work.
about that.
Work. W-E-R-K, work. I'm still working at it, but I am taking notes. This is really, really good. You're good.
Oh, well,
you
thank
should
you.
do this for a living.
Really?
It's really good. By the way, so you're still casting. I mean, speaking of what you were doing today, you have the Yahoo show, but you do a million things still.
Yeah, I do so many different projects, and I think that's the thing that I like about my life. I like to be, put one hat on one day and one hat on another day. Yes, I still have my clothing line that's now in 200 doors across Canada. I have another project that I can't really talk about, but it's going to launch here in the U.S. We're going to announce it.
So LA.
Very. I
can't really talk about it.
It is, but it's going to be. It's a very exciting project I've been working on for over a year, and it's now and it's going to be a very, very large U.S. project that I'm excited about.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else? We gotta wrap it. I know.
Yes.
What's your advice to new designers that want to launch their brand and sending out to stylists, get stylists to pick for a shoe, things like that?
First of all, you wearing anything you've done?
No, I'm not a designer. I market design.
Oh, you market designers. Okay. Well, usually what I tell young designers, especially well, you're not the designer in this situation. I'd say, first of all, wear your clothes, because people will ask you. They'll say, oh, is that yours? Is that yours? Or that's cool. Sometimes that little word of mouth is really key. But I think the most important thing to do is, especially if you're trying to market young designers, sometimes is put together, samples. If you know a specific stylist is styling, a certain celebrity or what have you, stylists love it when they receive packages of things from, instead of having to go to the showrooms, because it makes their life a little easier. And they might find that one thing that says, ooh, that's great. Oh, that would be perfect for so-and-so. And then if you just send, samples over and let them kind of look at it, even if they can just borrow it, that's the best thing. Just kind of get it in their hands. Yeah.
And congratulations on your project.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Anything else? Yes. Red sweater.
Quick question. You never think you're too old to break into the industry? I hear everyone saying young. Is there like an age limit or
Age limit to do what?
styling? Not modeling, of course, but styling.
Why'd you say of course?
Like 5 feet.
Here, first of all, the reason I said why not of course is because a lot of women come up to me and say, oh, I want to be a fashion model, blah, 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 blah. And I'm very honest. I don't lie to people. If you are 5 feet or what have you, you're not going to be a runway model. However, there is a huge market for commercial modeling, and people don't understand commercial models bring in the bank. They do. You could sell Tide toothpaste. You could do FTD florist. No, I'm serious. You can make a lot of money doing commercial modeling. Like even, everyone knows, the fashion model now, Leah, she does Estee Lauder and all that. When I first was working with her, she was doing the commercial modeling route because she couldn't break into fashion modeling. You can make a lot of money. So that's number one. Number two, there is no age limit for doing anything in this business. If you want to be a stylist, a designer, there really is no limit. There have been designers that didn't really come into their own until they were in their late 40s. So why would you put any kind of age requirement on that? Yes, models, typically, they want girls to be younger, but again, in that whole commercial modeling realm, they book women and men of all ages. They really do.
No limits in life in any industry, period. Let's end on that, right?
Yeah, hey, I'll take it. We're all getting older.
Church.
Like, no. Nothing else? Nothing
We gotta
racist?
go. They're sure telling us we gotta
Okay.
go. Last question right here. Stand on up. Bring us home, girl.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you first started out?
That's a good question. I got to go back to my Super Soul Sunday back pocket. The one thing I know now that I wish I knew. Yeah, you know what? I probably would say that because when I was in my 20s, again, I don't know. I didn't see limitations as just trying to I always looked at things and thought, why can't I do that? I think I really got that from my parents. They really taught me, don't ever let anybody limit you, and you should never limit yourself. And I remember having a very deep conversation with my mom specifically once, because my parents are from South Africa. And the first time I ever went to South Africa, I'm going to get real deep here, it was still during the time of apartheid. And, for me, it was very different, kind of witnessing that and kind of watching apartheid fall and really the country literally pretty much changing overnight because the country was ready for a change. And, having this conversation about, limiting and classifying and, never, my parents always wanted my sister and I to believe that no one should ever define you or limit you. And it was very, very interesting now, kind of later in life, realizing that as much as I always believed that and I always kept that in the back of my mind, because the best thing my mom said when I moved to New York was, you're going to always find 10 people smarter than you or less smart, 10 people richer, 10 people poorer, 10 people better looking, 10 people less. You're always going to find someone better kind of ahead of you and behind you. So at what point do you ever look at you and where you are and realize that you are enough? Because you know how hard it is to be at the absolute top? Bill Gates even said recently, he hated being the richest person until somebody passed him because it was the worst position to hold. So always realize you're going to find someone advanced and a little less advanced than your position. That's number one. But what I did learn in the process, which I admitted earlier, was by trying to do so much and trying to be perfect, I ended up limiting myself at some point, because with kind of the visibility that I have now on an international level, when I fly all over the world, and I was just in Korea not that long ago, and people know me there, all my shows are on there and blah, blah, blah. I just don't ever want to let somebody down. And by kind of putting that pressure on myself, I started limiting myself with what I could do. So you have to learn that you can't be perfect for everybody, and sometimes I have to let people down and not have the great day, and that'll just allow me to grow and then create more. So don't limit yourself.
Who is inspired? I think we should end there. That was beautiful. Beautiful.
Wait, we have to do our Oprah. Our Oprah, she goes, it's big, big, big. It's big, big, big. Treat moment. No, I'm just kidding.
I gotta find my thing. thing to do. That was so inspirational. Are you reading Power Now, by the way? Did you read Power Now? A lot of your nowisms.
Oh, are you kidding?
I love that book.
Yeah,
That's my little last bit of wisdom. Power Now. That's a great, great book. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, everybody. Sarah, are you going to come up one more time? I think because this was the grand old finale. Thank you, everyone, for letting me chatter all day long. Woo!
Thank you, guys. That was awesome. Every panel was so inspirational. I hope everyone's like ready to go
Take on
kick
the world.
ass. But we've got a huge event happening in the other room. Open bar, food, all kinds of stuff. So let's party and shop, and there's hair and makeup and all kinds of stuff you can get done. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we are